It's Just Bodybuilding. Scott McNally, our producer. Dusty Hanshaw, OG, white hat motherfucker.
Rolling.
There's a certain breed of people that can wear white hats. I just can't do it. I think I get them dirty so fucking fast. Like, share, subscribe, comment.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
So it has nothing to do with like you being a bad guy or a good guy, Ron. The white hat.
No, I admire the white hat. So, you know the guys that can wear the white hat with the white shoes?
Yes.
I know that guy.
Right? I just think like that's awesome, but I don't know, I think I would get everything dirty. I don't know. I just don't trust the world. It's not me.
It's not me.
What about like
me.
remember cowboy movies though? The white hat.
Good guys always wore the white hat. I know. White hat looks sharp. Okay.
Yeah, but do you want to be the good guy or do you want to be Doc Holliday? You know?
You gonna do something or just stand there and bleed?
Just I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I've gotten distracted again.
I have to remind everybody. Boom.
Oh yeah, you guys trained together too.
We did,
and we got some pictures together, Scott.
Yeah, we did. We fucking flooded the world.
I saw a few of those.
Multiple.
Text those to me later.
Multiple photographs together. Yeah,
at least 5.
At least. Well, didn't we say we would make sure we got one a day? Isn't that what we kind of got? It was one a day.
We did it.
So it was what? LA Fit Expo?
LA Fit Expo. Yep.
Now there's no contest
Expo
with that anymore, right?
No, there used to be wasn't there like a muscle show or something that used to be called? I don't know. I can't remember, but there used to be a contest.
There's nothing bodybuilding related.
The expo was pretty small this year. Like it was pretty small. There wasn't a lot going on, but it was like, busy, and the vibe was really positive, and everyone was like happy to be there, and you know what I mean? So kind of, sort of similar to what happened at FIBO. It was a lot smaller, but there was still, people like our lineup for that game we do, the Mutant Mass Challenge, where they hold the bags out.
Yep.
Like that thing is such a simple idea, but it was such a great idea because anyone can do it. And it's lined up all day. Even if we have no one talking to us, me and Dusty would be standing there just bullshitting by ourselves. There's no one even talking to us. And that game is lined up.
What is the game? What do you do?
You stand there and you hold the bags out to the side. The guys hold the 15-pound bags.
Yeah.
And the girls hold the 5-pound bags.
Okay.
And you compete for times, and they time it, and they have a scoreboard behind you and everything. And then at the end of the day, they text the winner of the men and the women, and they give you this big prize pack. And if you're not at the expo, they mail it to you. And then the winner of the weekend gets like a championship belt. And so like on Sunday, like last day of the expo, they'll text whoever's in the lead, and they'll be like, hey, if it looks like you're probably going to win, if you want to come to the expo and get your belt, at 4:00 or whatever. And I think they've all come back to like get it. We haven't had to mail it to anybody, but yeah, they're just putting a lot of effort into it. And it's just, the key about the booth is engaging people. That's the whole point. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So there has to be engagement happening at all times. And so that's been, like the booth across from us, that keto bread booth, they had like a chin-up challenge. And the chin-up challenge was like pretty steady all day. But there were some gaps in it where there was no one doing it. But that's because not everybody can do chin-ups.
Yeah.
Like,
everybody can hold a bag of protein.
Good at chin-ups. I'm not going to do a chin-up challenge. I fucking suck at chin-ups.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But hold 15-pound bags out, that's totally different. So anyways, that's just my little marketing observation. It's good to have something that engages people.
Who else did you guys see there? There had to be like a lot of other people in bodybuilding there.
Yeah, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't crazy. There, so manager Matt was there. So like the whole manager Matt, crew, like all that, the whole social crew from Cutler to Dana and Rob to Regan, all those people were there. So it was like cool. So I was talking to that whole crew. We saw them all at Gold's and stuff. And then Jay showed up on Sunday at the expo. He came down Sunday with his clothes. And it was really good. I walked past Jay's booth just to look, and he saw me. And because I didn't want to I don't like cutting in line. I just don't like doing that. But he saw me and he goes, "Hey, come here." So I was like, "Oh, okay, fuck, I get to see Jay." So he was cool. He pulled me right in the booth, talked to me for we talked for almost 10 minutes. We talked long enough that I started to feel bad.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, the line's not moving. But while he was talking, he signed 3 hats and just handed them back to guys. Shh. He's just the king. He's still the king, man. People leaning in on the booth all around, holding out the stuff they just bought, and he's just quickly signing it while he's talking to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you know what was awesome? He's here's what makes Jay a great guy, and everyone knows this. And this is just advice. This is just advice. He sees me, and the first thing he does is he asks about my client. How's Morgan doing?
Oh, no kidding.
Because he just saw my client Morgan, right, a couple weeks ago up on his Canadian tour. And I was like, of course Jay would ask about someone else, right? So, that type of stuff. And then the next thing he says, how's the gym doing? And then he looks at and then I look up and Dave Borlay's standing there with the camera. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be on JTV. And then Jay does a little interview. He goes, when are you going to have me up to West Coast Iron, bro? And, he gives me a little interview. And so we did a little chat thing on, is that JTV?
Yeah.
Dave's filming it. So
That's so
there
cool.
should be, I might show up on an episode of JTV, I guess.
Let us know, guys. Send me the link if you see that.
It'll be my claim to fame.
Yeah.
I think I'll go from an F-list YouTube star to an E-list YouTube star if I appear on, because if I appear on JTV, it might pull me up a bit.
A little bit, not.
Do you think?
You would have gotten more if there was a video of him calling you over to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's on video, I might go right to a D-list.
Which is, wow.
Yeah.
You can hang out with, some other D-listers. It could be great.
If you get to a D-list, you can just get into your local bar without a cover.
Don't even card you.
They don't even card you. Local bar, get right in.
I got to keep asking questions about this because I want to know more. What was Gold's gym like? Because I saw you guys training. I saw the picture up front. And then, so is it still all outside or what's the deal there? And did you, you said you saw DLB and everybody else. Who all was there? And yeah, what did you train? Sorry, like I said, I got a bunch.
Well, Dusty can interrupt me at any point. So we got there Wednesday, and then Thursday we went to shoot Mutant on a Mission. So the plan was I didn't have anyone from the gym to give me the tour. You know what I mean? So Dusty and I were just going to tour it ourselves. Dusty was just going to co-host the episode with me, and we just toured ourselves and then train. So that was the idea. So it was super easy. So we show up Thursday, and first of all, it looks like a medium security prison.
What?
Because the chain link fence.
Oh.
The chain link fence they had to put up all around it, right? And they there's no razor wire, but I like to think there's razor wire. I like to envision.
It said it was electric. It said it was electric fence right on it.
You kidding?
No,
electric.
Fuck, I didn't. There you go. I guess it's electric fence. I didn't even see that sign.
Yeah, well, it didn't exist, but I was just, it'd be cool.
Huh. Well, I'm going to go with that.
But we're going to say it because it's better.
Yeah, so it looks like a prison because of all of the chaos that's happening outside of the on the street the streets are lined with tents.
Holy shit.
It is what it is. You see those homeless a park that's just full of homeless people.
Yeah.
Well, they're just, I don't know, they keep kicking them out of the parks, I guess. So now they just took the sidewalk between all the sidewalks in that Venice area are just lined with tents. So it's really crazy. It's it's weird because there's Lambos and shit parked here and there.
Yeah.
and lots Lambo, of like BMWs and, you know, nice SUVs. And, you know, these aren't beater cars, but man, if I was training at that Gold's, I might buy a beater car just to go to the gym in.
Yeah.
Right.
Like just buy an F-150 to go to the gym in. It's just a cheap, like an 83 F-150 just to drive to Gold's, just to park in that neighborhood, you know? So, but yeah, and it's just kind of also weird, like, because I'm thinking from a logistical point, where does everybody fucking park now? Because that whole front parking lot's gone. It's all gym. And the streets,
the caddy quarter one.
Yeah, there's that one still, right? But
yeah,
I mean, they must have another overflow, like another lot somewhere. I mean, like you can't park on the street. It's just fun.
Yeah, no, it's a train wreck. Plus, it looks really odd. You walk up, and I was like, I had culture shock. I told Ron when we walked in the front door. First, the outside is ghetto, but then you go on the inside, and they're dropping crazy money. I mean, they've got like a whole seating area now and wooden floors. Nice. The pro shop is, you know, all wooden floors and you know, super decked out. I'm like, okay, what's happening? The first room is pretty much empty. It just has Gym 80 equipment in it, and that first room used to be slammed with equipment.
Yeah.
But it looks good because it's open. You're not like climbing all over each other, you know. But I would say maybe 2 items in the first room were there 3 years ago.
That's sad.
So well, that was initially. So here's what happened to me. When I first walked in to the main room, I was like, oh shit, where's all the equipment? Is everything outside? Because like there's still quite a bit of stuff in there, don't get us wrong. There's 2 8 stacks and there's dumbbells up to 150 and there's, you know, a bunch of rogue racks down the wall and there's a bunch of stuff going on in there. But then when we actually started training, I thought it was awesome. Like there's so much space around all the machines that are inside. And then the outside is so cool. Like we're doing hack squats outside on the old hack squat, and there's like a tent, the big giant tent that it's under. And I just thought, man, we're training legs outside. This is just awesome. And it wasn't hot. It was like very mild and it was overcast. So for a Canadian like me, it was just perfect conditions. And it wasn't even that, it was like dry too. So like we trained legs and I wasn't soaked. You know what I mean? It was good training conditions. Anyways, I really liked the ruggedness of it. Like having everything outside like that, like the parking lot's not level, right? So all the stuff that's actually sitting on the front half of the parking lot, like they put an AstroTurf down, but it's not level. Like you can see it's kind of like it's kind of uneven.
See
and stuff.
That it's not level.
Okay,
it's at a grade, but they've kind of leveled the machines somewhat, and most of them are bolted down to the ground. So, anyways, like, but there's just something like kind of cool. Like it's like rugged. It's not, you know, most gyms are changing up, right? Like most gyms are getting more fitnessy and more, you know, that sort of thing. But the fact that, you know, half the equipment is outside now almost took it back.
Yeah.
Like there was a like a vibe of like, you know, what it must have been like to train outside in California.
So you liked it more in a way.
Well, I really enjoyed training there.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, a lot of the machines, like some of the cool machines are gone, but they got a bunch of new stuff. And I saw a bunch of the same people. Like I saw a lot of the same people, you know, and yeah, I had a good time. I mean, it's not the gym it used to be, but it's a really cool place to train. Like, yeah, I had a good one. I enjoyed it. But I'm just a fan of, you know, I'm a positive person who, you know, is a fan of bodybuilding. We talk to a lot of people, and the general consensus of like the old timers that we talked to, I felt, Dusty can correct me, maybe he spoke to other people, but I felt the consensus was they didn't like it at first because they were worried, and then they got to really like the outside element, and it's different. It's not what it used to be, but they love training outside.
Huh. I think it opened it up too, Scott. Like we weren't there when it was busy, but there were times back in the day when you would go into Gold's and it was almost impossible to train.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
now that it's spread out, I mean, they essentially added, I don't know, 7,000, 8,000 square feet to the gym by doing this. I mean, it's huge. So, and it doesn't feel empty. You've got some space though. Like, I can't even think, maybe outside in the back, you could have done walking lunges before, but you still would have been in people's way. Like, there's enough room in this gym. You can do quite a bit of stuff. So the only downside that I did notice is they need a lot more plates and a lot more trees, because there is so much equipment that we were like looking and, oh, there's a 45 on top of that hammer strength. Let's go grab that. Oh, we got one over there. So if a bunch of people were in there training at once, I imagine that plates become an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, plates were an issue, and it wasn't even busy. So that was the only thing I noticed as well. And that's probably just a result of spreading the equipment out. Like, that's all that is.
Yeah.
And you spread the equipment out, and it just, your gym gets a plate flow going. Over time you move trees, you adjust things, and over time the plate flow settles in, and then you go and disrupt it, and there's going to be a correction period where you're like, oh fuck. And then you're going to wind up. Yeah, or you'll wind up with like a portion of the gym that has no plates at all. That's weird if you have that. You have to figure out why. You got a bunch of machines nobody uses in the same spot.
Yeah.
There's like no plates there at all. It's just weird. Huh. Okay. Yeah, good time though. And then, I guess, the funny thing was Thursday we didn't see anybody who was there for the expo. It was just Gold's Gym. It was like a normal day at Gold's Gym.
Right.
So when we went back Friday to just train on our own, I wasn't really thinking, oh, people are going to arrive today. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so we walk in the gym, and then that's when we saw, Regan and Rob and Dana and, manager Matt and, film guys and stuff like that were in there. And Dana and Regan were training back. So they were filming the workout, and we said hi to everybody. And Dusty was busy doing a real estate transaction on his phone in between warm-up sets. Dusty gets an emergency text about a house, and he's like, "Okay, so like we're doing our warm-up sets," and he's like on his phone while I'm warming up. He's like, I'm like, Dusty's got to get this done. And then he got it all tidied up just in time for work set number 1.
Yeah, then it was time to get going, and the gods of my shoulder were nice to me that day, and I was strong. I was like, all right, good. I had a good day.
Nice.
Because it was a little, when you're in there and you're supposed to be like getting in your zone, you're not supposed to be doing real estate transactions. It's not usually, that's not part of my warm up for chest typically.
Yeah.
I don't usually be like, you know what, now is the time to do this. Not my deal.
I had to yell a few things at him, make sure he was focused, because he had a short window to get set. So I think I might have used a British accent at some point just for added effect. Through a British accent. He would let me get on
my machine, ready to go, and he would spin the plates.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Just turn them.
It was amazing.
And then I realized why I failed on that side faster. Fucking think about this. I'm outside. There's wind, and now we've got wind resistance on one side. You can't like that. You can't have on the airplane, one of the wings has this little flippy thing up. What's a flippy thing called? A flippy thing.
I'm thinking rudder. Rudder maybe, or
rudder
maybe.
Well, no, the flaps are on the wing. The rudder's on the tail.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, we'll do the flaps, but I think is something else. Anyway, okay. So the flippy thing. The flippy thing was up on one side. It wasn't the other. It was a fucking mess. Always trying to hold me back.
I wanted to ask you guys about the gym specifically because, I've been lucky enough to travel out there and train there a couple of times, couple of weeks in a row, or couple of week periods. But I feel like, well, not in a row. Sorry. Yeah. Trained several times in a row, like out there for a week. But I feel like a lot of our audience probably, even though it's probably the most popular gym that still exists right now, I feel like a lot of our audience probably statistically hasn't had that chance to get out there. So I just feel like it's something a lot of people would be like, you know, it'd be cool to hear about.
Actually, you know what we have to talk about that's cool, Scott? Ron, you've got to tell them about why the front of the original Golds is still Golds. Remember we talked to the...
Oh, yeah. So
how cool was that?
Yeah, so we found out that the original Golds, right, the one on Pacific Drive, whatever, I remember I got a photo in front of it back in 96, and I never could find the picture, but the letters are bleached into the wall. Like there used to be a sign that said Gold's Gym, and then the sign came down, but the letters were bleached by the sun, right?
Yeah.
So it still says Gold's Gym on the front of it. And I guess it's an apartment now. Like and I guess the someone lives there now.
Huh.
But they're not allowed to change the front of the building.
No shit.
It's like a cultural site or something like that.
Huh.
So like if you're gonna live in there or own that building or whatever, you can't change the front of it.
I like that. I like
We were talking about it before because we were trying to figure out how has this building been sitting there in our heads empty, because if it wasn't empty, obviously it would be painted.
Yeah.
You know, and we had all these theories of why it could be that it was left alone. And it turns out you're just not allowed to change it. And somebody actually lives there. I was like,
for like 30 grand a month.
Could you imagine? I actually live in the original Gold's Gym. My bed
like
is in Gold's Gym. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
No shit.
Anyways, that's what we were told. Who knows? That's what we were told. We thought it was a cool story, and it came from a person of high authority. So there you go.
I believe it because I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I like that.
See?
Yeah. Big
People
thanks
do it all
to
the
Jeff.
time on Sundays. Same
big
thing.
Thanks to Jeff from Gold's Venice for facilitating the visit. Great guy. Took care of us. Runs the show down there. So helpful. Okay, Dusty,
Absolutely.
do you have any questions?
I have a lot of questions.
Do we have anything on the agenda?
You meant not from me. I don't actually have any questions from other people.
Life questions. Like stuff like that.
How did that happen to me? I still don't understand.
Did you guys check out anything with New York Pro?
Yes.
I did.
I'm surprised because you were traveling and all that. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we still checked.
2 shows in a row. I mean, fuck.
He looked bonkers at this one. And you know what? There we go.
Look at the arms on him. Just fucking crazy arms.
Do you know what I find interesting about Blessing, though, is as good as these pictures look, when you watch him move, he's even more impressive. So in person or video, it looks better because his muscle has so much movement, so much detail, and he poses really well. He's also very, very animated. Like, I think he could be in a tie and win a show based on the way he poses, and not just the execution, but like he literally looks like he's having the time of his life when he's bodybuilding.
Yeah,
you don't see that a ton.
Didn't he work with Kai at one point on posing? I think he worked. I think early on. I think that's what I heard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which would make sense.
I mean, he would have been running in the same circles as Kai.
Okay, huh?
You know, with that, the Red Con group and all those people, right?
Yep.
So I could see that.
Not to take anything away from him, but I did hear some people say backstage at the Indie, they were like, he came off as being real arrogant. That he was like really cocky, like walking around like, Boogeyman's in the house. This is the Boogeyman show.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to the NFL.
And people were like, man, just, take it down a notch. But then I mentioned that to someone else, and there's kind of also a thought that it might be kind of like, a little mind game these got going on back there.
Well, yeah, I mean, Arnold used to do it. Fuck, what are you going to criticize? Hey, I put up with guys that were, kind of like that. Some of them are great bodybuilders,
Yeah, like backstage, people would like try to get under your skin.
Well, hey, as long as it's not getting personal or something, like, if he just wants to hype himself up or whatever, I'm, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to, like, I don't, go at anybody for no reason. It's not like that, but I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what he was saying?
Well, his personality is that. So his personality is that way. If you look at the videos, or I don't know if it's his personality or if it's his shtick with all the Instagram and stuff, but he always puts out kind of loud content. So whether that's his thing in real life or it's his thing he does for his social, but at the end of the day, I always think, if you have a problem with it, beat him, and that's going to be real hard to do.
Yeah. Yep. Every other sport has. Every other.
I also noticed that. I also noticed the reemergence of George Farah and everyone wanting to be with him again. So, Justin Rodriguez came in off again and announced today that he and George started today.
No kidding. Huh.
Yep. And then, frick, I can't remember. Someone else actually worked with him for 1 week going into the New York Pro and said I think it was Max, and said it was a drastic change. Max Charles.
No kidding.
I'm going to look real quick. I'm going to verify before I tend to absolutely, how Ron knows exactly what he's talking about and speaks. I'm the opposite of that.
You make stuff up.
No, it was not. Yeah, I just pull it directly out of my ass. It's that actually did not happen. Yep, it was.
No, it's good to verify stuff though.
Yeah, Max Charles said that he worked with him for a week going into this. So he had worked with him for a week. Blessing already works with him, and now Justin Rodriguez is starting with him now. So that'll be interesting. I thought he looked great too.
Yeah.
I just hope Max can stay with him though, because I don't know what happens, but it was the same. He was killing it with Milos, and then all of a sudden they weren't together anymore. And I'm like, why? What happened? And then he didn't do well again for 3 or 4 shows. So we'll see.
He looks good. The harder he is,
the
better he looks. So
absolutely.
One of my questions is, how much of a dump is Venice compared to 15, 20 years ago? Already covered.
It's way worse. It's
the
way
gym was
worse.
cool, but Venice is rough. And we also went to the Firehouse. We went to the legendary Firehouse Restaurant. He had his Bob Bowl. Dusty had his Bob Bowl.
I did.
Nice.
And I had my 2 proteins and 2 carbs, that I always have.
What's the Bob Bowl? Is that chicken and beef together?
No, it's 12 ounces of steak, rice, green and red peppers, and onion. So the beef is all sauteed with the onion and the red peppers and green peppers. They just put it over rice.
Nice.
Yeah, it's bomb. That's essentially what I eat everywhere I go when it's time for a meal. When Ron and I went to dinner after the next day we trained, what I ate? Steak and rice.
Steak and rice.
Never fails. That's my jam.
You know what I ate?
What?
Steak and fries. I'm a fries guy when I'm on the road.
I lost 4 pounds while we were gone, and all I did was eat shit.
I came home exactly the same weight. I was 247.6 or something the morning I left. Morning of the day I left. And then I was 248.2 this morning. So,
after a basically the same nice night's sleep in his bed, Ron actually was home in Vancouver before I took off yesterday. And then flew all the way. I told Scott, Ron, that I landed here at 8:30 this morning, and then I kind of came back to the house. I showered. I have to shower immediately after getting off of an airplane. It's disgusting.
Yep.
Showered. I laid down for 3 minutes, and I'm like, I'm exhausted. I got to train shoulders. Went to the gym, trained shoulders, hit my cardio.
Oh, you trained back. Already?
Yeah, I haven't slept yet since yesterday.
You're kidding me. You didn't go to sleep after that?
No. We have a show to do.
How long was shoulders?
Look. There we go. Monster. We got monsters. We're good. Well, I had shoulders, then I had abs, and I've got dogs that have missed me. You got to spend some quality time. I had to go to the store. Someone threw away my gallon bottle. It's not good.
I can tell you guys have traveled.
Disgusting.
I can tell you guys have traveled today. You're like a little more subdued. Like these guys have been on the road for a few days, guys.
One thing I gotta say about Dusty is Dusty. You know, like I try to minimize the reasons that I have to leave the hotel.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I really want minimal reasons for me to leave the hotel. Dusty's always walking to Target to get something, or going to the store to grab something, or he's an active guy. You know, you think Dusty's, you know, still, what do you weigh, 290? Jesus.
Yes.
You know, but he's like not afraid to be like, oh, I got to go to Target, got to get this, got to get that. And yeah, he's always got somewhere to go. So I walked with him a few times, and then there was a couple times where I'm like, you know, should we Uber? And he's like, no, let's just walk. And I'm like, Dusty's like a walker. I just didn't peg him for a walker. You know, I pegged him for like an Uber, absolutely everywhere type of guy, and he impressed me with his ability to just, it's only 7 blocks.
Yeah,
you know, 7 blocks.
It wasn't bad.
I'm like, yeah.
Ron probably walked like 3 miles a couple of days for sure. Like just hitting the streets with me with the random shit. He even sold it. So Scott, imagine this.
Yeah, let's.
You can't find your
intro.
AirPods. Go.
We badmouthed Venice, but now we got to talk about downtown.
Okay.
Oh,
didn't mean to badmouth Venice. It's still Venice.
You mean like downtown LA?
But our hotel was downtown, so let's just make sure we let everyone know that.
Okay.
So we're in downtown.
We're in LA. Okay. And the very first, I saw Ron for 3 minutes when he gets there. We walk out front to wait for our Uber, and Ron looks down and sees a broken Hello Kitty water bong sitting there. So we did what any good, solid adult would do. We took a picture with it, and I had him get down to like the gangster stance that they do, like when they're by their car tire, So got that shot. And then we realized, oh, it's so sad. They broke their bong. Oh, but also they left their crack pipe, which is right here on the sidewalk behind it.
Holy shit.
So there was literally a crack pipe right there. That, let's see, more homeless tents, all that shit. But I thought that the worst part was the human feces on the ground.
Yeah.
It's got to be somewhere, I guess.
Yeah. Because, dog shit smells different.
Yeah.
Oh, it was absolutely human shit.
Dog shit smells different. Like, you'd see shit, and you'd be walking towards some shit, and it'd be like, oh, it's dog shit. I can smell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you'd sometimes see some shit, smashed on the ground or a little pebble or, a turd, and it would you'd be like, ugh, just keep walking.
Oh, my God. Huh. Yeah, I guess they got to go somewhere.
Hey,
there
on the sidewalk,
right in the middle.
Sometimes
apparently.
with your bong.
I guess sometimes you got to prove a point. Shit in everybody's way.
It was
proving a point.
We're doing this now.
Yeah, fuck you.
When it hits, it hits.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's like, I always come back from places like that. I don't know. It makes you think about all the different stories you hear about a big giant city like that. We all live I live in a city of 4 million people, but it's not Los Angeles.
Right.
Think of all the movies and books that have been written about that city. How huge it is. Isn't it 15 million people now?
Hey, look it up.
I thought it was 11 at one point. Scott's on it. What's the current population of Greater Los Angeles?
Yeah. Carry on. I'll find out.
It's big enough. It's big enough that, there's a few cities where you fly into them and it looks like city goes to the horizon in all directions. Right. Shanghai's one of them. It's like 32 million people. You fly into Shanghai, you come through the clouds, which is like a blanket of smog. You come drop through the blanket of smog and the city appears. And it looks like the Borg have infected the planet. And it's just nothing but machines. You know what I mean? Like something from Terminator, where machines have just covered the surface. Yeah, Rise of the Machines. It's just machines have covered the earth. It's just concrete as far as you could see in all directions. The only thing is LA's on the water, so you can see water like when you fly in. So it's not as overwhelming as Shanghai. Because Shanghai just so crazy when you come through the clouds. But yeah, LA's got that look. You know, it's just so fucking huge.
What was the number you said you thought it was?
I thought it was 11 at one point, so I'm assuming it's higher.
So, okay, you're a little overshot there. 2020, at least just like the quick Google search, it says 3.9 million people.
But that's LA. Oh. You're thinking of like surrounding areas and stuff as well, because that's, to give you an idea though, Ron, with that, in 2020, Chicago only had 2.69 million.
Yeah.
Chicago, actual Chicago, you know?
Right.
So, because I think where it gets confusing for people is like people will say like Phoenix is over 4 million, but it's actually Phoenix, Scottsdale, Chandler.
Oh, so
like the surrounding area.
I Googled Greater Los Angeles.
Okay.
If you Google Greater Los Angeles, it says it's the second largest metropolitan region in the U.S. with 18.7 million.
So you were close.
As of 2/20.
Huh.
5 counties.
Do they say what the first was?
5 counties.
What?
There's Ventura County, San Bernardino, Riverside, Los Angeles County, and one more, I guess.
Well, that's from 2020 though, so that's a lot lower now because half of those ones moved to Texas.
Yeah, they're in Texas.
And are trying to fuck it up.
So it's Los Angeles County, Orange County, San Bernardino County, Riverside, and Ventura. Those are the counties that make up 18.7 million people. So, yeah, it's fucking huge, man. You know? Those are my thoughts.
That's it. That's the full rundown of our trip to LA, Scott.
I appreciate it.
Just think of all the people that have. So one of the things about Los Angeles that crosses my mind is I think about all the people that went there to try to become something. You know what I mean? And that's like,
now they're shitting on sidewalks.
Now they're shitting on sidewalks. No, but summary of the trip, had a lot of fun. Expo wasn't that big, but it was good to see the people we saw. Gold's was fun. Had a blast, shot a video. Dusty and I talked a lot about business over our IHOP breakfast 4 mornings in a row.
It's a lot of IHOP.
And yeah.
It was a lot of IHOP. By the last day, we don't need
our server got to know us.
Yeah.
Our server got to know us. Yep.
Yeah. We show up.
See you next year.
Would you like to sit at the same table? I'm like, any table is fine, but the same one will work. Sure.
Yeah, it's a good time. Ate nothing but shit. I had a couple of whey isolate in water shakes and called them meals just to like bring my average calorie intake down for the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bridge the IHOPs.
You didn't want it to be the 3, yeah.
So typical diet for me. Yeah, so like diner breakfast, right? Steak and eggs with hash browns and pancakes for breakfast every morning. And then usually a big restaurant bomb after we trained. Either, we went to Cheesecake Factory one day.
Yeah.
Fucking pigged out. What was it, Bill? It's like, anyways.
You're leaving out. See, I have to jump in. I forgot about this. So we're sitting at the table ordering, and there's this like 6 women at the table next to us, older, and all of a sudden one of them goes, "What is this? Like your last supper?" And we're like, "What?" And she's like, "Why are you eating so much food?"
She was funny.
We're answering, going back and forth, like joking.
Yeah.
Then she literally later, we have the dessert come out, and they're like, "You got dessert too?" And I got a to-go thing. At one point, she's actually leaning over Ron's shoulder because he's got the bill to see how much the bill costs. Harassing us there, and they were funny because they were hammering us, and it was so great because we ended up leaving at the same time as them, and we were waiting for an Uber, and the lady goes, "What, you waiting for a U-Haul to come pick your ass up?" She was amazing. She did not let
She was right out of a she was right out of a sitcom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
She was like a character out of a sitcom. Just the way she talked, and yeah.
That's amazing.
Waiting for a U-Haul to pick your ass up.
She needs like a laugh track. One of those people that just needs like a laugh track after everything she says.
And her friends.
Any questions, Scott? Do we have anything?
I got a few. What do you have, Ron? Do you have anything? Are we leaning into these?
I like to do YouTube ones.
Okay.
First, we got to give them priority.
This is in no particular order. I'm just gonna grab what we've got. Question for the next one. I've heard water retention from flying, but what about long drives? I hold a lot of water in my calves and ankles.
Well, I always found that, that's just from sitting for a long period of time and not moving around is the problem, right? So I always found on flights, the two things that helped the most was drinking a lot of fluid to keep your body flushing. You want to keep your aldosterone levels really low. So you want to keep your fluid coming in. And I know it's annoying to get up and pee a lot when you're on a plane, but if you want to get off on the other side of that flight looking as good as possible, you want to keep peeing. You want to keep your pee clear while you're on the plane is a good way to think about it. And I used to think a half liter an hour. If I drank like a half liter an hour, that kind of like made sense to me. It averaged out. It wasn't a crazy amount of fluid, but it was like enough to really stay hydrated. And then also on long flights, I had a lot of success. I'm assuming it helped because I got off the other end of a lot of flights looking really good. Would it be as I'd get up and move around on the flight? Like some of the long flights, some of the overseas ones, I'd go stand, off, when everyone's, sleeping, I'd go do like a round of stretches and like body weight squats and calf raises and just like move around, like move your leg muscles, get your blood pumping, you know what I mean? And just do some light stretching and it's just all moving fluid.
Yeah.
And pushing your blood through your body. And, that always helped a lot. But the long drive thing is, the same thing. It's just from sitting and not drinking and, like all that stuff makes a difference. So, if you want to pull over a little bit more and move around, drink more and pull over and piss more, I guess maybe try that. But that's the trade-off you make when you drive, right? Right? Every time you go on a road trip, you just want to fucking get there. So, you limit your fluid and, I know how it goes.
You got anything for that one, Dusty?
That is absolutely completely covered.
All right.
I would be completely lying if I had anything.
I feel like I've heard this story before, but I feel like a lot of people probably haven't if they haven't been watching the channel from the start. A nice comment too. John says, this is the most educational bodybuilding channel. Thank you for the content. And he also said, how did you all meet one another?
Tinder.
Did they have that? Did they have that back then?
Thank you for tuning in to another podcast here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media. If we've provided value to you today, then please consider contributing to our show. You can help support the show through Patreon. Every $5 helps to pay for the software and the hardware and everything else that goes into making a podcast. You can also contribute by using our code at True Nutrition. True Nutrition has been our title sponsor for several years now. I'm super grateful for them, and I've believed in True Nutrition supplements long before they sponsored our programming. You could use our code THINK for health supplements and performance supplements. Feel free to hit me up if you have any questions. And if you're in Canada, check out supplementsource.ca. They have free shipping over $99, huge discounts on overstocked, short-dated, and label-changed products. Plus, they have all your normal supplements too. Thank you guys for listening to the commercial. I hope you're having a great day and that your bodybuilding is going well. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I remember when I met Dusty. I met Dusty at the Olympia while he was just walking by. I think it would have been 2011. I think it was 2011. That makes sense, Dusty? 2011 Olympia. Or was it earlier than that? I thought I was there with Mutant, which was 2011 for the first time. But I'd been to many Olympias. I'd been every year.
I'm pretty sure with Mutant when we met.
So I think it was 2011. Anyways, you walked by and we briefly chatted because your dog had just passed away.
Yes, Molly just passed away. And I hadn't met you yet, but I'd seen you on the board. Like I knew your name, Dusty Hanshaw 08. You know, you were like, didn't you use that on like forums?
Forums and stuff. So anyways, I knew who you were. But that was our first conversation. And then the first time we talked after that would have been at Temple Gym.
Yep.
Wasn't it at Temple Gym?
Yeah, it was. We met because we had wandered in there to train, and Ron showed up with the entire Mutant team, and he also brought this really crazy Englishman who was screaming at me during my sets, and that was Dino.
I brought Dino. It was Dino. But so Dusty and I knew each other obviously because of, we had already met, but we didn't really I'd never seen him in the gym, nothing like that. So then we ran into each other at Temple Gym in England that one day, and we took pictures together. That was the first time we took a photo together with Jose and everything.
Nice. We should find that picture because we could add it to our collection of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that was the start. That was the start, Scott.
All right. That's a good story. And then just to kind of get a little more out of this. Go ahead.
My instant gut reaction was, I'm going to be friends with this guy because there's a lot of things deeply wrong with him. And as long as I don't judge him for those things, he will never judge me. We can have a solid friendship.
There we go.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
I was going to try to dig a little deeper. That was good. That's what I was looking for right there.
I knew it. I could tell by your tone. I could tell by your tone you wanted more.
I got you.
You wanted more. Yeah.
All right. This is from classic name here, Butt Munch Jerry.
Hey,
that's good.
Butt Munch.
Question for the next show. He posted this a couple of weeks ago for all of you on the topic of friendships from the current episode. Who has been your most supportive friend in your life? Who has stood by your side through both your highs and lows? Why and how did you pick this person? Please pick somebody outside of family or a spouse/partner. I thought it would be pretty cool to give a shout out to a person that you know. This doesn't have to be anybody bodybuilding related. No weaseling out and say, everybody close to me has been supportive.
This guy is a butt munch. No, you know what? Actually, I have had a lot of. I don't have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people and speak to a lot of people, and but I don't use the word friend the same as a lot of people do. Friends to me are people who absolutely from jump have your back. So if I was going to say the longest term, I wouldn't say most, but the longest term friend I have would be Dante for sure, because I met him in 2007. And he literally, not only in bodybuilding, but in life, has given me a ton of, and Ron can vouch for that too, is just information, help, anything, it's just been crazy. We met, hit it off, and, he kind of brought me in all the way back then. And I mean, he's helped me with business stuff. real estate stuff, bodybuilding stuff, and definitely was there for the ups and downs. But that being said, after last year, and I mean, I have more friends like that than probably anyone that I know. Because I mean, literally, there's like 6 people after the accident, even people that I didn't realize that I knew we were friends, but I didn't realize to what degree. And now I'm like, oh, I've got like 5 or 6 people that would pretty much do anything to help, whether it's financial, work, whatever. And most people don't have that. And as far as how to pick them, I don't think you like pick. Like, I mean, Ron, for example, obviously is one of my closest friends. And it's like, I think you end up kind of, you gravitate towards people. And then when you spend some time with them, you realize it's, more and more. I mean, for example, I didn't know Ron well when I signed with Mutant, but I knew him well enough that I reached out and I literally emailed him as soon as I lost contract and said, hey, what do we have to do? And I sent him the formal breakdown too, but it was I just knew that I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be somewhere else, I want to be somewhere where I already know that the leader of their thing is someone that I respect. I put respect much higher than any other thing in a friendship, because that doesn't vary based on what their opinions are, what their political opinions, things like that. The respect stays. So, and that was a prime example. The longer we've spent time together, the more that friendship has proven to be far beyond bodybuilding. I mean, when we're done with this shit years down the line, we'll still be friends, where I have other people that are absolutely bodybuilding friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
mean? Yeah. Good answer. Hey, Dusty going deep.
That's as far as you can go.
As far as you could go. So I've got like a couple people that I consider like my real inner circle of friends. And that's, just usually time is the real tester for me. And so, I've got my 2 longest standing friends who, they flew to all my shows. They flew all the way across the country to watch me compete at nationals every year. Like, no matter where I was going, they would fly there. And I worked in the bar industry with both of them. I lived with one of them for 7 years. So those 2 friends of mine are Scott and James, and they live back in Edmonton. I met James in 99.
Detroit. I'm in Detroit area.
Yeah.
Oh, different Scott.
So they live back in Edmonton so I met James in 99 when I moved to Edmonton, and we worked in the bar industry together for years, and we're good friends from the gym, and he came to watch me compete, and we worked out together a bit. But James and I were, he's one of my very closest friends. But Scott has actually been my friend since 1990.
That's a long time.
We met in grade 10.
It's like before Nirvana.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm speaking Ron's language there.
Yeah. So we met in grade 10, and we were, by grade 11, we were hanging out constantly. And then grade 12, inseparable. And then we wound up living together. We traveled. We lived in Australia together for a year. We traveled together. We lived in Edmonton for 6 years together. We just he's probably my closest friend, just because all the time we've been friends. And, I was at his wedding, stood up with him at his wedding, and, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that'd be my buddy Scott. So, he's like the first person I called when my mom passed, you know what I mean? He's like my first friend that I told, like that sort of stuff, probably my best, longest friend. Yeah.
I've heard
and
of
he was
him.
my training partner too. And he's not a competitor or anything. Like, he's just a dude who trains, right?
Yeah.
But he was one of the best training partners I ever had, because he was a perfectly trained spotter.
Yes.
And he trained really hard. And he trained very progressive. Like, he wanted another rep on everything. Yeah. So he was perfect training partner.
I had one of my best friends, I would say, who was a guy who wasn't a bodybuilder, but he wanted to be. And we met in the back room of like a grocery store. And then like 2 weeks later, he had gotten my number from somebody else. And he texted me and he was like, "Hey, can you help me get into, bodybuilding?" And I was like, "Well, what are you doing, tomorrow? Let's meet up. This is when I train. You're welcome to join me." And then he started coming to the gym, and he literally trained with me for like from that day forward for like the next 3 years, something like that. And
that's awesome.
Helped me, like hung with me through shows, did cardio with me, all of that. It was cool. His name is Matt, good friend of mine.
That's awesome. Yep. Yeah.
I love that you had you can come work out with me tomorrow, and then he comes the next day also. And you're like, what the fuck? I didn't come with
No, it's cool. And right he ended up trying to compete once, and
That's
was
how
a shame.
I got my current partner.
Oh yeah, yeah. He ended up trying to compete once, and he got like MRSA on an ingrown hair on the right by the groin on the inside of his thigh, and ended up getting taken out. So I remember because he was telling me, he was like, "Man," he was like, "once I get shredded," he was like, I'm just gonna stay there for a while because I just want to enjoy being lean." And I told him, we still talk about to this day, because I was like, Matt, when you get that lean, like contest lean, it's not comfortable. It's not something you're going to really want to enjoy. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just going to spend the summer like that, and like walk around and stuff, like pick up girls. It's going to be cool." I was like, no, Matt. And so when we finally got there, I was like, "Matt, so how you doing? Are you enjoying being lean?" When he was really struggling. And then like literally like a week out, he got this infection on his inner thigh and was hospitalized, and they're pumping him full antibiotics, and that was it.
Oh my
fluids.
God.
Yeah.
A week
from an ingrown hair.
Yeah. It was like he did something, and they were like, it got infected, and then it got MRSA, and they were like, "Yeah, you probably picked it up from the gym or something,
Jesus fuck.
That's wild.
Yeah.
How random is MRSA?
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
I got a few more here.
Shoot.
Okay.
Last 5 minute crew question for the next episode. 6'3", 250, just coming off of a blast push. Things went very great. Body composition is good. I have scar revision surgery in a month. It's minor, which will put me out of training for 4 to 5 weeks. How should I structure my diet to limit muscle loss / fat gain while I recover? Slowly drop to maintenance calories and increase protein. And he gives some examples from there.
Well, he's going to need a lot less food if he stops training. So, I mean, I wouldn't increase protein. That's not going to help at all, because it's the training that drives protein requirements. So when you stop training, the protein requirement goes way down. So, but protein is still, beneficial to eat a little extra protein, I think, because it, satiates you and all that stuff. And maybe he'll be able to control his diet better. But if I didn't train at all and didn't exercise, I'd hate to think of how little I could get away with eating.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing that pushes your food for sure.
Like, that's one of the reasons I train hard, is because I like to have like a couple spoonfuls of ice cream whenever the fuck I want, You
pretty much covered everything I was going to say with that. It's just you have to lower your calories because you're burning less. I would keep the protein, honestly, the same. I'm assuming he's at a kind of typical bodybuilding level. And then I would watch the mirror. That's the biggest thing. Is how many times you get the question, like, what diet is best for me? These are my numbers. I'm 6'5", 250, 8% body fat. It doesn't really work that way. So in that position, knowing you're going to start moving, I would probably look at if they have an off day diet that they're currently doing, run that daily, and then watch what happens. You might need a little more because it might be too low, or it might be perfectly fine. So at the end of the day, I think it's important to remind people, even when I'm putting together a diet for someone, although I have experience to make that first educated guess on the diet, it is a we'll see. You know, I'm going to give you this. You're going to follow it for a couple of weeks, and then I'm going to see what your body tells me. It's going to tell me if I went too high or too low, and then you adjust from there.
And I'm not sure, like he says scar revision surgery. So I'm not sure if he can do any cardio or anything like that. But
you can.
Even if even if he can just walk, I would you have to keep the furnace going. Like you have to keep exercising. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't just want to like completely detrain your entire system, you know? If your muscle tissue has to rest, fine. But I would keep the blood pumping and keep the huffing and puffing going if you can, as much as you can. I think that's important. You know, keep the furnace hot. You know, somehow. Fuck.
And he's not really going to lose any muscle. You know what I mean? Like I think that we fear that, you know, we're like, oh man, what's going to happen? And I need to really be careful. Like, you know, by the time he's able to train again, it'll all come back. Anything that, you know, deflates.
Boom, boom. Okay.
All right. I think I have
you guys
one more.
Go
ahead.
You go.
Okay.
No, I was going to ask you guys a question, but fire away.
All right. Easy one. This is from Katie, new Patreon subscriber. By the way, guys, thanks for supporting the shows on Patreon, and comment with questions for the show. We forgot to tell them that at the beginning too, like when we started doing questions. She says, when would you cut growth hormone going into a show? And are there any scenarios where you would run it all the way into the show?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dusty. Elaborate.
Well, basically, the thing is this. There's no rules in bodybuilding. I say this all the time. That's an acetoism. So it's kind of like I see it very similar to when guys are like, oh, we got to pull out the long lastings and go to the short esters now because the show's getting close. I want to hold water. And I'm like, are you holding water now? No. Why would you start holding water? Like, so a lot of people have read things and seen things and they make decisions. I don't, if I was starting with them and we're looking at growth, I can't say what's going to happen by the end. But if the picture is looking good and you're coming into a show, you don't make those changes. Like, especially if you're down, they're peeled, they're full, everything looking good. And really the only thing left to do is pull the water. Don't worry about the growth. I can get rid of the water, you know? On the contrary, if you're coming down and you realize like I have a ton of water and I really want to make sure I clean out, then, 7-10 days out, pull it, good to go. But I find for myself and my experience with clients, more often than not, it doesn't come out.
Okay. Well, I essentially agree with Dusty, but it's also dose related. So let's say you got a guy who's doing 8 IUs of farm GH. And I mean, more likely than not, there's just a little bit of a squishy look, even if his glutes are striated. It's like, I bet you'd be harder if you weren't running 8 IUs of farm GH. Maybe if you're only running 2 or 3 IUs of farm GH, or maybe no GH because you're fucking big and ripped enough. Let's just go for condition. So that's sort of how I look at it. If you're running 3 IUs of generic and you don't appear to be holding any water, you're probably not holding any water and you probably don't need to stop taking it. But I don't know if it's any good anyways, So I don't know. I have had guys say they think they hold more water with one brand of pharma versus another brand of pharma, and they're getting them both from the pharmacy on prescription.
Huh. I've heard that.
I can't remember. I've had a couple guys tell me. I can't remember which one they said they were holding more on. But I know a few guys that have like prescriptions for it, and they try to get one other, like one of the brands, because they think they hold less water on it. Interesting. And another thing though is we don't have no one's doing proper research on this stuff. See if bodybuilders hold water at 8 IUs of farm GH a day. But John Jewett did put up something that supports sort of supports how I feel about it. He put up a thing saying that growth hormone does slightly affect kidney function when it's elevated, and that, his argument was that it led to, even if it's extraordinarily minor, but there was like a difference in how the kidney filtered. So I can't remember. I'd love to find the slide. It was one of those carousel posts that John Jewett puts up.
Interesting.
And it had like something about growth hormone and kidney filtration. It wasn't like damaging or anything. It just altered how it did it.
Yeah.
Like it affected it. So it supported the idea of pulling the growth. But Dusty's also completely right. Some people just
makes sense.
Look fucking awesome on anything. So what do you do? It's a call. But here's another thing I will say. I've never seen anybody's physique collapse. Oh. I've never seen anyone's physique collapse because they stopped taking their growth. I've never seen it hurt anyone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Immediately flat.
Yeah, it just didn't happen. So.
I think we got some lag on Dusty.
Yeah, Dusty's connection ain't great.
It was good.
Something happened. His white.
No one's here.
Gray. We lost him.
He hung up in anger. You ever hear the term rage quit? Like people on video games, they rage quit. Dusty rage quit the podcast. There he is.
Delete the app, bro.
You offended me. I just freaking bounced. No, I actually was watching it get more pixelated, and I actually froze for a minute.
I saw that
during Ron's, and I was like, I didn't want to jump out while he was in a good rhythm.
I can tell when things freeze.
It's like if you're having a conversation.
You go out of your way to go like
someone jumps in talking about a fire truck. It's not good.
You go out of your way.
So
to
I
go
got
like, one. When you're freezing up, I see it. I hear it.
You see me. I'm also watching to see how long it takes. I'll do that, and then I see your guys' reaction to it. I'm like, that was like 3 seconds. Okay, that's a long time. What do you have?
I got a question.
Ron?
They want to know. They're asking us, the three of us, what era of the UFC we paid the most attention to.
Why does my thing suck so bad?
You look good here.
Are we losing Dusty again?
I guess we
Did
are.
I lose Scott?
I'm here. Do you see me?
I didn't hear you for a second. So you were talking and it said, what era of those? And that's all I got.
What era of the question is, what era of the UFC did you guys pay the most attention to?
Well, I mean, I paid the most attention to Connor's era because he made you, and that's why he's worth $1 jillion. But actually, when UFC, I don't want to say when I first found the UFC, I really enjoyed like the GSP era. I thought was an awesome time across all the divisions. And I'm far from an expert, so I'm not going to try to spout into it. But I did find that I would, on the regular, a card would come up. I'm like, shit, I got to buy that. And I passed.
So you were buying cards. You were a big enough fan.
Yeah.
Big enough fan that you would buy certain cards. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Scott? What was your UFC? Like, did you have a phase where you were into it at all?
No.
Or you ever go to a pay-per-view or you go to a bar to watch a fight or anything like that?
I've worked with some guys that are mixed martial artists. One guy that was in the UFC, and he was like a lower level, but I have never gotten into it. Like I've known a lot of guys. In fact, it was more popular, I think, a few years back, like that when like Tap Out was really like people were walking around with all the Tap Out shirts and all that like all the time.
Right.
And we had like some crossover in our gyms. So we had like one of our powerhouses even, they kind of half converted it to like an MMA gym. And I remember when those guys came in, it like just started smelling like sweat all the time, like really nasty sweat. And they had the mats out and everything. And I was getting ready for a show, and we'd we'd all be in the locker room at the same time. And they were impressed with what I was doing, and I was impressed with what they were doing. But as far as actually watching it, the only thing I ever watched was a documentary called The Smashing Machine. And it was about a guy named Mark Carr. Does that ring a bell?
No.
It was years ago.
Check it out.
It was a weird movie because I think it was UFC, and they were documenting him. But then he turned out, and he was a big jacked dude too, real bodybuilder jacked. And but he had this drug addiction issue. And so they're documenting him, and then they're at his house, and he's shooting dope and stuff. It was weird. It wasn't the documentary they planned. And so when I think of I don't know, when I think of what do I like about the UFC, I like that movie. It was weird as hell, but it was good.
Listen, before anyone goes and jumps on Google and Google's Smashing Machine, be careful. I just want to throw that out there.
I saw this movie called The Smashing Machine.
It might go sideways on you.
Might go sideways. You might want to use a private browser or a VPN for that one.
Yeah, here he is.
Do not Google that one at work.
Okay, so check this out. You can't really see him here, but you can see from it, he looked like a bodybuilder, right? That does not look like a UFC dude. Yeah. So he was jacked.
That's funny. See, my first memory of the UFC goes back to walking into the video store and seeing UFC 1 and 2 on the shelf side by side. It's they both arrived at the same time. You know what I mean? And so I rented them both. And I took them up to the counter, and the guy was like, "You haven't seen, these are fucking crazy." And it was back in the early days with no weight classes, no rules, no nothing. Yeah. And so I remember watching the first two UFCs and they wore nothing. They would go out there in their whatever martial art they did. They'd go out there in their Hoist Gracie came out in his gi. But he liked wearing his gi because it made other people grab onto him. And then once they grabbed onto him, he was like, "Perfect. That's exactly what I want you to do. Now I'm going to break your fucking arm or choke you out." And that's why Hoist Gracie I remember how he just killed everyone. He just choked everybody out. And it was the awesome tournament style back then. So it wasn't a card. It was "Hey, we got these 16 fighters, and we're going to have a fucking tournament right now. And you're going to fight 4 fights in a day if you want to win." Right. And Hoist Gracie won the first 2. So he was champion of both of them. He beat Ken Shamrock in the final the first year, him and Ken Shamrock. Everyone thought Shamrock was going to kill him. You're watching the video, and everyone's like, "Oh, Ken Shamrock looks pretty dominant here," because he's and he was he was super dangerous Japanese pancrase fighter, right? So everyone knew he was a leg breaker and shit. And they'd seen Hoist choke the other guys out all morning, but they thought, wow, they're both grapplers. So, Shamrock's so much bigger and stronger that since they're both grapplers, he should win, but then Gracie fucking got his back and put him choked him out. And, everyone was just this fucking skinny, unathletic dude just beat everybody. It was really weird, Just looked he was 6 feet tall, 170 pounds.
Dang.
Never lifted a weight a day in his life.
Everyone.
Maybe did push-ups. I don't know. So yeah, that was my first introduction. But I'd say the phase that I paid the most attention to was kind of when it was starting to get televised. You'd get the UFC on TV and stuff. I remember when Dana White bought it, and it started they changed all the rules, and then next thing you know, there's Matt Hughes and GSP and all those guys fighting, and it was super fun. I remember we used to go to over to someone's house, and they'd get the card, and you'd all watch it together. I did that a bunch of times. So that'd be that era. don't even remember what year that would be. 2005? Something like that.
Matt Kerr was like 97. Well, it said actually 97 to 2009. So I think the movie was earlier on, though. 255. Right. He was a big dude.
There were some big dudes. Like, do you remember who Mark Coleman is?
Oh, yeah.
Mark Coleman was jacked. He looked like Goldberg. You know, he was fucking big. And he's like out there head kicking people, knocking them out. It was crazy. It was a free for all, man. You know, total free for all. The guys looked jacked up. Like there'd be big fucking purple guys with traps in there fighting, smashing each other in the head. You know, big purples, right, Dusty?
Don't Google that either.
Has he got a delay? Okay. So, do you know what the next event you're going to is, Dusty? Have they told you?
I guess I'm going to Dallas in like 3 weeks or so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You get to go to Dallas?
Yeah.
What's that for?
I just found out. I have no idea. I didn't ask.
I wasn't invited. Enjoy yourself. I don't even ask. I'll bring my mutant t-shirt.
I'm on my way.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing you again, training it again. And also, Scott, I look forward to training with you, too. You get left out on some of these trips.
I know. I was jealous. I was jealous. I would have loved to just be at Gold's and see what it was like and just smell the shit for myself, you know?
Yeah. Well, Gold's didn't smell like shit. Gold smelled great.
Yeah, they just in the greater Los Angeles area. 13 million people.
Okay. Yeah.
19, whatever
Enjoy
it was.
Yourself. 18.7.
18, thank you.
Okay, everybody. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment.
And ring the bell.
There we go. See, now I don't know if he had a delay or not, right? He's delaying anyways. Okay. Remember, everybody, it's just bodybuilding.